Welcome to Lift Your Story podcast with guest Sammi Kate, founder of the Intuition Alchemy. Hi everyone, I am Lorianne. I am that gal from Toronto, Canada, and I am with.
I'm that guy. I am Roy Miller from Dallas, Texas. Welcome to our Lift Your Story podcast.
In this episode, we welcome Sammi Kate. She is the founder of Intuition Alchemy. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you guys. Appreciate that.
So tell us about Intuition Alchemy.
Yeah, so Intuition Alchemy is a program that I created this year from deep heartbreak and deep understanding of what it means to not listen to your intuition. And so on the other side of that came this experience of recognizing the intuition as our innate superpower. And so from that place, I started working with an Indigenous Native American elder. His name is Ron Interpreter, and he and I both created a 4-week program of the intuitive process. And so really helping people strengthen their own intuition and understanding what goes into doing so, and guiding them back into their most aligned experience on earth and in their body and in their hearts. And so it's been incredibly powerful for me and for the others that have joined. And now I'm launching a 3-month program. And that's going to be taking them through this process of what it means to really come to a sense of depletion, to come to recognizing their own truth, to integrating everything and then taking action. And so I will be helping them.
I was just going to say, are you open to sharing a little bit of what brought you to that journey? Because this is about a story. And it's only if you're open to sharing that with us, we'd love to hear it so our listeners can hear it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So about a year ago, I moved. I live in Boulder, Colorado, and I was living here at that time. And when the pandemic hit, I decided that I was ready to move. I graduated from Naropa University, which is a Buddhist contemplative school here. And I wanted to move to Northern California in this town called Nevada City. And in hopes to find more creative community and people that I could really connect with. And I used to work in music festivals and events. And so that was kind of something that I have been longing to get back into. But of course, with COVID, things took a shift. And so even just being in that energy field, being in that location felt like it would be re-inspiring for me. So I left Boulder and I moved to Nevada City. And in the midst of that, I met someone. And so the rest of my year turned into a journey of relationship. And one of the hardest relationships I've ever been in, also going through my Saturn Return. So it was a pretty big unfolding of who I am and what are the things that I'm really meant to wake up to understanding about myself. And so, yeah, this relationship taught me all the things of, what it looks like when I'm stepping over my higher self and my intuition and staying in something that really was harmful to my spirit. And I was completely in it. I take full responsibility for that journey. I wanted to experience what that felt like in my body and in my mind. And so there was, a couple of experiences of where it was no longer safe. And I left to go travel in Costa Rica and just went on a journey of losing myself to find myself. And through that, I've had this deep passion for something. And I knew that this move, there was going to be something that was going to come back online for me, but it was not how I expected it to show up. And I kept saying to myself, there's something in this that's going to come out on the other side, and it's going to be of benefit to others. And that the word that came through was intuition. And so since then, things have been just falling into place around this program and how I want to share it, and really a whole self awareness now to commit to it for myself, and what that looks like along touching others' lives, and that commitment that it takes to really be your intuition. So yeah, that's a little bit of a snapshot.
Quickly in that, and Roy, I know you have a question, but you said Saturn Return. Did I pick up on that? Can you just quickly explain what that means? Because I'm sure a lot of listeners will not catch on that one.
Okay. Yeah, so Saturn Return, it's an astrological experience. So when we are of the age of 28 to about 30 or 31 years old, we have a planet that comes to its peak of Saturn. And so the planet Saturn actually represents lessons in this lifetime. And so if up until the age of 28, we have not fully grasped that lesson and understanding, then it shows us, it really teaches us. So it's the teacher planet. It comes every 30 years. So it comes back around when you turn about 58. And it's really meant to awaken whatever is dwelling within you that you're not paying attention to. And it comes out in complete sideways experiences, because yeah, I was like, oh, I got this. I'm on the right path. I'm moving. I'm making decisions. I'm starting, a different reality where I felt more inspired, and it had nothing to do with that at all. So yeah, it's been very entertaining, to say the least.
Roy, you heard that, right? 58? 58, Roy?
I
Did you
picked
hear
up on that.
Sure that. I'm 58.
Okay,
I just went through a major transition right now.
There
so
you go. I'd love to hear how it turns out. Yeah.
So you were talking about working with a Native American Ron interpreter, right? So in this therapy, is it like a regressive therapy that you do?
Good question. So he and I, we actually met last year, and that's another story in itself. How we met, and then him understanding this word and this mission and what it's been for me. And he was like, I fully want to support you in this. How can I support you? And he's a life coach as well. So the two of us decided to unravel, what does the process look like when you're ready to fucking, excuse my language, but make a shift in your life to really change. And how does that feel in the body? So when you're thinking about intuitive guidance, the first step is depletion. So that's the first step that I mentioned. So in that moment, you're ready to let go of everything. You're ready to really surrender, to come back to what is it that I don't know, right? Like we think we know, but we don't. And so that's my favorite saying, is that I know that I don't know anything. And so we took the feminine approach mixed with the Navajo approach and perspective. And there's so much wisdom in the Native American tradition of things that they're not even kind of allowed in their culture to share. And so upon working with him, he really had to ask for permission to bring forth these different perspectives and words, terminology, and lingo to share with the group that we had formed around this. So it's somewhat of a digression, but it's really just meeting people where they're at and taking them through this process of an evolution in the period of 4 weeks. So that 4 weeks is a container that then allows everyone to journey and travel together with accountability with other people that are like, hey, like we're with you, you're not in this alone. So
tell us a little bit how y'all met.
Okay, so we met at my ex's, the person who I was going through this grief and experience with, on his property. He was coming up to sit in a peyote ceremony that we were hosting on the land. And he was the first one that had arrived. He drove from Phoenix, Arizona, and he was going to be helping with this particular ceremony. If you've ever heard of peyote, it's a plant medicine that the Native Americans have used for centuries within their family systems to really come back to their medicine and what that looks like for each one. So they host and some of them, travel and have these gorgeous ceremonies that are held in a really sacred way for other people to come and to remember what their medicine is through this plant medicine. So we met. I greeted him. I've had a reverence throughout my lifetime for Native Americans, and I literally just put everything down in that moment to have a conversation with him and just greet him and offer him some water and show him around the property. And so he is a genius in how he's kind of liberated himself from the kind of genocide of what's happened in the Native American communities. And now he's been able to transform that into being of service to others through life coaching. He has an architecture company, a film company, and he's just doing a lot of different things in a way to share, you know, his message and to help other people come back to their spirit. So that's how we met. And yeah, we just kept in touch through my grieving process, and he was kind of an anchor throughout me choosing to get lost. And when I finally was coming out of it, we reconnected, and I shared with him this message that came through, and he was like, I'm here to support you. So yeah, that's how we met.
Yeah.
So what is Intuition Alchemy in a nutshell? How would you describe that? I love the name. I think that's great. And I think intuition is something very important. Trust me, I have intuition, and I have quite often ignored it. And it always ends up that I should have stuck with it at the beginning. But you learn by your lessons, right? You just want to have that, you know, believe that your intuition is wrong, but it rarely is. So that's why it is, you know, it intrigues me. So if you can give that in a nutshell, the version of what you would.
Yeah. So you want me to explain kind of what it looks like to work with me. So
Exactly.
yeah, so as I was saying, I formulated a process. So I sat with myself for weeks, and I was like, what does this feel like now that I'm no longer in it? How can I now meet someone who's going through this? And so I really meet them in that space of despair and grief and wanting to get lost and being that anchor like Ron was for me. So allowing them to fully be in that expression. And so through that, I've created these rituals that I feel are pertinent to someone's awakening and healing and understanding of their experience. So the first ritual is the earthing ritual. So when we come to depletion, that aligns with the theme of earth. And so we have the 4 elements involved and 4 themes. So it's depletion, recognition, integration, and action. And that's earth, fire, water, and air. And so with that, we have rituals that are associated. So the first one is earthing. So I've created a journal. We have journal prompts. Every day becomes a very specific in the morning routine and ritual, and then going into your daily life, but taking this energy with you to then doing the earthing ritual and then journal prompts about it. And so we kind of do this whole thing within 2 weeks. So we focus on that element. The next 2 weeks, we focus on the next element, and so on and so forth. So until we reach the 4 elements. And then the final 2 weeks together, we really integrate everything, and we kind of see what's alive in you now. How has your life changed? And we create a 2-year vision dream plan. And so in that way, all of this is a commitment to yourself. And the fact that you are fully saying yes to me, fully saying yes to yourself and to life, there's huge shifts that take place.
So that 5th week or the 5th element is like the 5th element. I mean, I'm sort of smiling because I love that movie. I really do. So I understand the 4 versions, and because there's a 5th element, that's your last 2 weeks, really, is pulling them all together. That's kind of very interesting. I love that concept.
Yeah, thank you. So
You know,
and I do we do a once a week phone call together. And then throughout the week, you know, you do kind of the assignments. But it can be a lot, you know, it's a big commitment. So I don't want to take someone's like everyday time, but for them to really live their lives and learn how to integrate this back into their daily work schedule or family or friends, and see what comes up for them when they're following their intuition.
Yeah, you mentioned when you say ritual, you know, I have a concept of like a physical, doing something, but then you said journaling. So basically it's just a plan of action that you journal. Will that be kind of a 30,000 foot view of it?
Yeah, so you're correct. The ritual is a physical experience. So the earthing ritual is to be outside barefoot and actually do a meditation while you're walking on the earth. So you're taking 30 minutes of your day every day for those 2 weeks to actually go and do that experience. And then the journal prompts are after. So that's something that I have questions for you. What was that experience like for you? What did that bring up for you? It's really a trusting technique to come back to yourself, because really everything is about nature and how we relate to our own nature.
So I have a question. If the earth is standing and I can get the water swimming and I can get the air, I'm scared about the fire. What's the ritual on that one? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I have to make fun, like some fun, happy thoughts here, because I'm thinking, I know this is really heavy, right? But I am curious though, seriously, a serious tone. What would you be able to give a quick explanation as to the fire one? Because that would kind of scare people, I would imagine.
So the fire element's not scary at all. It's actually lighting a candle and sitting in meditation with yourself. So going inwards is actually the fire. The fire represents the mind. So when you think of the mind, it's always going. So we want to tame the fire. We want to tame that mental, the mental
Clutter?
Clutter. Yeah.
Mental clutter?
Yeah.
And the only reason why I asked that, because when you said fire, I was thinking, because there's those walking on coals thing. I know Tony Robbins talked about the fact that he did that. And I thought, I don't know if I'd ever want to do that.
Yeah.
Have you ever done it?
No, I don't think I'd want to do it either.
Right. So,
Yeah.
have you done it, Roy?
No, I haven't. I'm not sure if I would, but no, I haven't.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, some people, I think I heard they said it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
So,
They said, again, it's got to do with the mindset and stuff. I
oh,
don't know. I probably panic, and I probably would burn my feet because I wouldn't be in the right
Yeah.
mindset.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Roy.
Well, no, I had a thought. It escaped me. I don't know. Maybe it'll come back to me.
It'll come back.
So in this, do you have, so in your journal, so do you have, like, I would say, do you author like books that are provided? Obviously, that sounds like what you do, where they're set books that people can journal in and they can follow through the program with them?
Yeah. So the PDF, it's a PDF journal. So they can print it out and have it with them. Yeah. And actually Christian, who suggested that I do this podcast, he was in my program.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. He was
Yeah, very nice young man.
Yes,
Very
Yeah.
nice young man. He was one of our first guests, in fact. Yes.
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. So
He is.
Oh, I know what I was going to ask you about, the peyote thing. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
the peyote ceremony.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I grew up in Miami, Florida, and at the age of 21, my father passed away, and I was living with a friend at the time who was dating this guy, and he would come over with something called peyote tea. And I had no idea what peyote tea was. I've heard of peyote, but I didn't know it was that accessible. And he was like, yeah, here, you could try some if you want. And so I had a sip, very bitter, which it's supposed to be. And following that conversation, he asked if I'd be interested in sitting in a sweat lodge one day. And so that weekend, he sure enough invited me to a sweat lodge, but it was actually a peyote ceremony moving into a sweat lodge the next morning. So it was a whole 24 hours of my first experience sitting in a group of incredibly beautifully talented people and understanding what the ceremony really meant to the natives and to just, yeah, people that are wanting to understand themselves better and to share this. So it was profound, to say the least. And so since that time in my life, I started to really recognize the magic of life and of death, and seeing that my father's death was this incredible gift for me to really live more and to wake up, to not distract, to be in the presence of other people that also understand this notion. So the Native American culture kind of became my background of what I believed in and how they persevered and their courage and how they continue to stand up for what really matters. And it was so deeply touching that since then I've continued to sit in ceremonies. I committed to sitting in about 2 sweat lodges a week for about 6 months. And it still continues to transform my life to this day. So
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, how can our listeners reach out to you?
How can they reach out to me? They can contact me. Instagram is light, light .eyes, EYES. You can also find me on Facebook, Sammi Kate. And yeah, I can share my email with you. I don't know if you want me to just spell that out too.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
up to you if
go
you
ahead.
want to.
Yeah, it's weavingwriters@gmail.com. Weaving is in like weaving a web, and writers is in writing a piece on a piece of paper. Before this, I had a writing company, and I helped conscious industries kind of be able to market better to their audiences. And I really love to be able to use words as a catalyst for change and to connect with people. So yeah, I still very much enjoy writing. And now I'm getting better into public speaking, which was a huge, edge for me. And yeah, with the Intuition program, I'm like, I have to do it. I have to speak about it. I have to share it. And it's been really empowering and inspiring. And my biggest hope is for this program to land in the hands of people, who it will be of benefit to. Yeah, that's my biggest wish.
Have you written a book yet?
No, but my mom says I should. So
Okay.
I'm like, okay, one of these days I will find a cabin and I will write a book and I will make that happen.
Well, that was going to be the segue, right, Roy? When I asked about the programs are written for, and laid out, well, that's the first step. If you could do that, you could write a book, definitely. Because I think that's actually a little bit more difficult in a way to write out programs than it is to write a book. So with exercises and journaling and such. So yeah. Well, this is great information. Unique, definitely.
Yes.
We really appreciate you being on here, and we appreciate Christian for referring you to us.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much, Sam. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you too, and keep up the beautiful lifting the stories. I think that's amazing work that you guys are doing. So thank you.
We appreciate that.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye-bye.